This show is brought to you by the Garden Gurus and Evergreen Garden Care. Evergreen Garden Care and their market-leading brands are some of the most trusted consumer brands within the garden care market. They produce high-quality garden care products designed to help people create their own green oasis. Whether it's a garden, a balcony, or potted indoor plants, they want to inspire anyone, anywhere to be able to easily create and maintain their own garden. To find out more about Evergreen Garden Care, head to www.lovethegarden.com. Garden Express are Australia's leading mail-order gardening service, offering a wide range of quality garden products. Each week on the Garden Gurus Live, the team at Garden Express will share a weekly offer, so make sure after today's show you jump online and visit their website.
The Garden Gurus Live. I'm Sue McDougall and I'm so excited to be back with you, enjoying Monday throughout the day in your garden for another live stream. We look forward to so much happening today, as well as answering all your gardening questions. I'm sure after the weekend there's many, so don't forget to put your question in the comments section and we'll answer it. Put your state and also where you're from, and that will make a huge difference for us because, you know, around Australia we have so many varying climatic conditions. Look forward to it so much. So lucky to be able to spend the time in the garden with you today. We're going to catch up with Andrew from Love the Garden to share some great lawn tips. How's your lawn looking? We've got banksias. Do you love banksias? We'll chat to Kevin and Kathy Collins. Now, Kevin and Kathy have got probably every single banksia species that's available in the world. It's such an impressive collection. You've got to join us. It's just incredible. And just right here in Western Australia, we're so lucky to have Kevin and Kathy today. And we've also got David from Garden Express join us to chat gladioli. Now, gladioli are guaranteed to flower. If you've never grown them before, keep watching, keep listening, because we'll tips and the girl growing gladdies just in time for Christmas. And later on in the episode with you, my plant of the week. Today's one is an absolute treasure. You'll love it. No matter where you are, I'll give you the tip to grow that. Success, 5 prizes giveaway, 5 packets of Mr. Fothergill seeds. It's time to plant corn, lettuce, tomato, carrots, and also all vegetable inspiration. Stay tuned for the question of the day for your chance to win one of these packets of seeds. Join us. Put your notes in our comment section. Put your question there, and we'll start off answering questions, because Garden Gurus Live is all about you, how we can share information. If you've got something looking absolutely fantastic, we're going to help you. Now, we've got a quick pause. We're just fixing up some We certainly are. We're back talking your gardening questions. Let's head to Queensland, beautiful, warm Queensland. Narelle, she's got a question. How do I prune a climbing rose? Is it the same as a normal rose pruning, or do I have to do something different? What we do with climbing roses, Narelle, is leave those really long canes and the side shoots are cut back. And they're cut back, so you imagine you want to redevelop and get those really amazing, strong canes coming through. So you leave those, and then the side shoots get trimmed back. Those side shoots you'll see as you go along, you'll see these little canes that will come out from that. You trim those back to 2 or 3 buds to an outside facing bud, but if you don't get to an outside facing bud, the side shoots that come from there is your flowering wood. Any dead or diseased canes that are coming through, trim those out, because one of the things what we want to do with pruning roses is to regenerate the bush. So we want some strong development in lovely long canes. So that hope that helps if you can get onto them early. But then just one tip, if you've got spring flowering climbing roses, so they only flower once a year, don't prune those until after they've finished flowering. Otherwise, you know what happens? We prune all those flowers off and you have to wait for another year to enjoy them. Now let's head to New South Wales, to Moorebank. Keith, we've got a larger crop of lychees 2 years ago. We had one 2 years ago. I know the tree is biennial, so do I need to trim the tops of the tree to get lychees, or do I leave it alone? So if you're going to get lychees this year, yeah, that mature wood needs to be flowering. So if you had a large crop last year or 2 years ago, another strong crop this year, most important is after it's fruited this year, definitely just trim it to shape, and also keep feeding it the fertilizer that's got the nutrients that really develop and establish those really strong flowering wood. So high potassium is important, lots of sunshine, get it nice and open, and that makes a big difference when growing lychees. So jealous actually, fresh lychees, there is nothing like that flavour, Keith. Hope that helps. Now, how is your lawn looking? Is it soggy and wet and looking a little bit yellow? Or is it looking amazing because you've had some amazing spring weather? Now, I think there is a huge place for lawns all around the country. And as the weather warms up, getting the dog and the family and the kids out there to play on the lawn is really something that we can do in Australia. It's iconic. And we've been joined by Andrew O'Carrigan. Now, he's going to tell us about lawns. Tell us, hi, Andrew.
Hi, Sue. Can you hear me? Is my voice coming through okay for the group?
Nah, 1 minute. I can't actually hear what you're saying. So give me 2
Right.
secs and I'll see if I can actually, nope, my computer, I'll see if I can absolutely check it out. We've had just a few technical queries and we can just see if we can find you. So there's
Okay.
obviously something happening in my computer. So maybe if we can get some questions. I needed technical guys. Behind me, there's a whole team of technical people making this happen, making it happen in the garden. So, Andrew, everyone else can hear you,
Yeah.
but I can't. I'm sorry about that. You're
Right.
looking amazing
That's okay.
where it is
Yeah.
in the garden. It's looking absolutely
Literally
fantastic.
in my
In the
garden.
garden
So
this time of the year, I know in some of the wetter areas in WA, you'll find that the rain is looking soggy. So let's head to some questions while we're sorted out at the moment, and we can talk to you. Mary's asked a question. Is it okay to sprinkle used coffee grounds around my plants? It seems to stop the brush turkeys from destroying my garden. Absolutely, Mary, no problem at all. Used coffee grounds, you need a lot of used coffee grounds to actually make a difference and cause a problem in the garden. So sprinkle it around. If the brush turkeys don't like it at all, that's fantastic. So you need a lot. It tends to become, if you leave them in clumps, tends to become water repellent, but it's not water repellent. You'll find the soil is no problem at all. You'll find that the just having questions about where I can hear the voice on my computer. So and
shouldn't be.
Or is it?
All right, we're back now. Cool. Are we going to questions?
Yeah, let's head to some questions on them. Yeah. Okay. Curry plant, Ricky from Adelaide. Curry plant isn't looking very good. The leaves are going brown. It's out in the weather. Would it be too much water? It's actually pretty normal at this time of the year, Ricky, in Adelaide, for that to happen. You'll find that the cold does knock it around. You'll get this almost shining foliage with brown marks on the leaves, and it's just one of those things that happens. But as the weather warms up, yeah, you can give it a little bit of trim and it will shoot away again. We're not too far away from spring, so that'll make a big difference as the weather warms up. Get it fed and it will grow beautifully. So from Carol from Perth. I'm from Perth, of course. When do sweet peas start to flower? I had mine in for a while, but there's no flowers yet. Yeah, certainly. They do start to flower as soon as we get some warm weather. That's actually what happens with a sweet pea. So the more flowers, the more sunshine, the more light they're getting, the better they are. They just keep flowering continually and make a huge difference for the plants. And also the perfume of sweet peas is just absolutely divine. So more picking, that's the key, Carol. More picking, the more the flowers will come through. And the lighter they are, more sunshine, the more flowers you'll get. Sweet peas are just amazing. You can get them from seedlings or seed, but if you've never grown sweet peas before, definitely time to put the sweet peas on your list for next year. A bit late to plant them now, but definitely on your list for next year. From Lynette, are wood ear or cup fungus growing in premium potting mix a problem for peony tubers? Also fungal gnats in the same potting mix. The wood ear or the cup fungus is saprophytic. They are beneficial. They are starting to break down the organic matter. So they're not going to cause a problem, Lynette, at all for your garden plants or your peonies. What you'll find it does do is show that you've got really good biota in the soil's alive, and there's organic matter. So if it wasn't for saprophytic fungi, we would have all these problems in our garden and the organic matter wouldn't be breaking down to humus. What happens with fungal gnats, that's telling me that it's actually a little bit too much water there. So keep it on the drier side, Lynette. You'll find if it's on the drier side, you're getting that garden to dry out, and potting mixes too soggy, that can cause the peony tubers to rot quite easily. So I would be thinking fungal gnats are always around. People tend to get the problem when they're in potting mix indoors and watering too much. So just keep your pots just on a little bit drier side to make a difference for the fungal gnats, and that should clear them up. Jenny from Melbourne, let's head to Melbourne now. Where may I purchase a curry leaf tree? The sort I may dry and use in curries. Any nurseries you may recommend? Yes, you'll find that you'll be able to find a curry leaf tree in the Renaissance range of herbs. I'm sure they have them. And any of your local garden centres, Jenny, should be able to help you with curry leaf trees. I know they are amazing to grow. They do get knocked around by the cold a little bit, but they are a fantastic plant to grow. One thing to be very aware of is that the berries are toxic, but the leaves are fantastic. So the flavour, if you've never grown a curry leaf tree before, the flavour from the curry leaves is so different to what you imagine they'll be, and it's worth growing in just any case for something as an experiment. Anything that's edible is definitely worth planting in the garden, and into a pot that's about 30 or 40 centimetres if you don't want to put it in the ground. But if you can get a pot that's quite large, you'll get them established, you'll get them growing. Don't worry if it's a little bit spindly, but it will grow beautifully. Let's head from Melbourne to Collie, gorgeous part of the world in Western Australia. Just wondering if you get better yield from raspberries in the ground, or is it possible to get the same in pots? Depending if your pots are nice and healthy, Collie is an area where raspberries will grow absolutely brilliantly, and you'll find, yes, you'll get a good yield in the ground because then the plant has a chance to establish itself. I've got family who grow raspberries, Kelly, very successfully in Southwest and do really well in the ground, and that whole process of renewing the canes, the root system is nice and cool and they've got a wide root system. So the key I can tell you in growing raspberries, the pots need to be big enough so there's enough root system to keep the plant nice and cool through summer. That's the key, keeping that plant cool through summer so you get them so they don't stress at all. Let's head to Belgrave. Margaret, I have a beautiful, very old white azalea, strange on just a branch. I have a bunch of beautiful clusters of deep pink flowers. What would cause this? How exciting, Margaret. That's actually one thing that happens in the garden, and you'll find that it's called a natural sport. So that's how we get a new variety. And if that variety is stable, and it means that it will come back pink every year, you can then propagate from that, and then you'll get a pink. So if it's got the really strong attributes and the amazing growth properties of your lovely old white one, but it's pink and it stays stable, you might have discovered a new variety, and that's pretty exciting. Same happens with camellias, are very good at that, and that's how new cultivars come. You'll find sometimes what causes it, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes that color pattern isn't stable within that plant, and that makes a big difference for the plant. You'll find deep pink flowers on a white azalea. Treasure it. It's a bit like a variegation on a leaf. You'll find that's what happens when we are looking for new varieties, and plant breeders all around the world are always looking for sports or new varieties that you can get excited about, and it's stable. The key is to make sure that that new variety is stable within the plant. So enjoy them. If your azaleas are looking beautiful, if you've got azaleas, you're watching Garden Gurus live today and you've got an incredible azalea, don't forget to tell us about it in the comment section, because we've got some fantastic comments from right across the country. People are inspired about gardening, and that's the best thing about gardening, isn't it? We can share our treasures and share our information around, and we learn from each other. From Eve in Perth, would you leave dahlia tubers in the ground over winter or dig them out to store and replant again in spring? None of my tubers in the ground planted last year have emerged yet, and I'm worried they have rotted. Eve, any other year but this year, or as I said, they're absolutely fine and wouldn't cause a problem. But with nearly 400 mils of rain in Western Australia over July alone, this year has been unique. So I normally leave my dahlias in the ground, particularly if they're in pots or in shallow root system, because I know that they're not going to rot. But just have a dig around. That's the key. If you can dig around the root system, Eve, if it's soggy or if they're nice and strong, they'll shoot away beautifully. Soil temperatures, you'll find that they'll shoot away very soon. So normally we would lift them, store them with somewhere, or split them up, store them in an area where the soil is not going to get too wet, or you store them with some sawdust around in an area where it's a little bit damp but they don't dry out, and then they'll keep going. My grandma used to store her dahlia tubers under a giant carob tree with sawdust around them. So I remember as a kid how gorgeous it was going under there, and the smell of the carob tree, and also just this whole amazing feel of having these incredible structures of tubers and these swollen roots sitting in the ground. It was always fascinated me as a kid, and probably one of the things that fascinates me, built my interest and love for gardening, that's for sure. Now, from Katanning, close to my home area, I have a blueberry ash that was here when we bought the property. It's close to the house gutters. When do I prune it so I don't miss their gorgeous flowers? Blueberry ashes, or Elaeocarpus, is fantastic tree. You're lucky to get it growing. That's fantastic, Barbara. After it's finished flowering, just wait until it flowers and then prune it after it's finished flowering. You'll lose the beautiful berries, but you will actually get those gorgeous flowers. So you enjoy the flowers, then prune it. It then goes into its active growth phase. So most trees grow actively after they've finished flowering, because that's when they're putting their nutrients into the next year's flowering wood. So you'll find that definitely they will shoot away beautifully. Enjoy blueberry ash, Elaeocarpus. It's just absolutely gorgeous. One of those treasures of Australian trees. Margaret, who had that pink flowering azalea, how do I strike a new plant, please, from my azalea plant? A couple of things you can do, Margaret. If your branches hang down, you can do what we call aerial layering. So if you've got a branch you can pin down to the soil, you scrape the bottom part of the bark, and then you paint it with hormone gel and you pin that down into the ground, and then you can layer it with potting mix. So So you pin it down with a bit of wire, layer it with potting mix, and it will send out roots beautifully. And then you'll get a new plant, it will send out those roots, and then you can cut it off. Other than that, you take pieces of cuttings that are about 10 or 12 centimetres long, strip the bottom leaves, so the new growth has to have some sort of resistance and not be brittle, but you can strip those bottom leaves and then cut the top of leaves in half, put them into equal parts of perlite and cocoa peat, but make sure you dip your cutting in hormone gel, then cover it over, water it in well, cover it over, and create a little mini greenhouse environment with either a plastic bag or in a little hothouse with a plastic cover, and you'll find you'll get pretty good success with azalea. So good luck with your new pink flowering azalea. And don't forget to let us know how it goes via our Garden Gurus Facebook page. Now, let's see if we can head from azaleas to lawns. Be delighted to talk to you. Andrew, can you hear us? Yes. Can I hear you? No. And I think that I've got a, we can try it again. Let's head to Plant of the Week and see if we can't find Andrew once again, because we're itching to find out what's happening with lawns again at this time of the year. Andrew, stay there for a minute and we can talk to you. My plant of the week is a special plant, something that I just walked past this week and just could not miss it. It's absolutely amazing. And it's a plant that's local West Australian native, brown Boronia, Boronia megastigma brown. The perfume of this Boronia is just absolutely divine. So I've got 3 to talk about today. One is called Heaven Sent. This is available in the garden centres at the moment. Compact plant, very strong grower, and you'll find it does incredibly well when it grows beautifully, and awesome amount of flowers, and it gets to about 1 metre high. Yellow one doesn't have such a strong perfume, but it flowers absolutely beautifully, bright yellow, and then the normal brown, megastigma brown. So the flowers in spring are divine. Many people have problems with growing brown Boronia. Where it grows naturally is a plant that natural plant that flowers and grows in areas of soil where it's quite damp, but it's flowering just absolutely amazing at this time of the year. You'll find that the brown Boronia, you want to grow it in a pot, grow it in, say, a self-watering pot, because when you look at a small plant, the root system is so strong and incredible. So if you can find the brown Boronias in your garden centre at the moment, grab yourself a self-watering pot, put it in somewhere where it gets morning sun, afternoon shade, you'll find you've got to have it. Just got to have it for the flowers. So check that out at your local garden centre. I know they're looking amazing at the moment. Now, I think I'm going to have to try some headphones, see if I can hear Andrew on headphones. Let's see how we go. Andrew, how are we going with your lawn? Nope. So we're going to try again. Yep. No, we're going to have I can actually see Andrew's got his, yes. Yeah, exactly. Andrew, you can hear us, but your mic is muted. That's what I can see. That's what I was going to see. Don't you love technology, everyone? It's love it when it works. When it doesn't work brilliantly, not so good. So, Andrew, if you can hear me, can you please mute your mic? That'd be great if we can. Eventually, we'll get to the lawn. Add some comments. How is your lawn looking? Looking absolutely amazing. Mine's growing so well at the moment. Yeah, with lots of water around. One of the things that we can do with lawns at this time of the year is lawns at this time of the year, we're getting to the stage where we can actually scalp them and get them growing, particularly those warm season varieties of lawn. You'll find they'll shoot away beautifully and they will grow gorgeous now that the weather's warming up. So if you've got lots of thatch, your lawn is looking a little bit squishy at this time of the year, or feeling a bit squishy this time of the year, you can cut it back really hard, aerate it, even vertimode if it's a cooch-based lawn, and that will open it up, get rid of that thatch and allow it to absolutely grow beautifully. And if we can get hold of Andrew, we'll talk to him about fertilising the lawn, because something about fertilising the lawn is absolutely amazing. Now, our question of the week, if you're part of our Garden Gurus Facebook Live today, make sure you answer this. Our question of the week, to have a chance to win one of these packets of Mr. Fothergill's seeds. We thank Mr. Fothergill's for the support of gardening. Is what edibles do you have growing in your garden? We'd love to add to that collection, and we'll pick 5 people to win a packet of Mr. Fothergill's seeds. So what have you got looking, tasting awesome in your garden? Do you grow Jerusalem artichokes? Have you got globe artichokes looking amazing? Have you planted your chilies and capsicums for this season? Are they looking amazing as well? One of my favourites at this time of the year are the repeat harvest lettuce. Now, this one is one called All Year Round. Now, the flavour of these repeat harvest lettuce are absolutely fantastic. Grow them quick and they come up nice and sweet and look amazing, taste amazing, and within probably from seedling 3 weeks, but from seed 6 weeks, you can just pick the leaves. And what people tend to do with the repeat harvest lettuce is wait till they get big enough and harvest the whole plant. Well, the trick to growing lettuce, silver beet, pak choi, all those repeat harvest plants is grow them to size and just pick the leaves that you need. That way it allows the plants to keep growing and keep producing, so you can just have your own fresh salad every day of the week if they're growing well. And the other tip, if they get bitter, they're growing too slow. So keep them fed well, keep them growing prolifically, and that makes a huge difference. Now, while we wait for Andrew to have a chat, we'll have a quick chat about banksias. Kevin is one of the owners of the world's most impressive banksia collection. Now, Kevin has been probably growing banksias for many years in a part of southwestern Australia that's just absolutely incredible. Absolute passionate grower for banksias. Welcome, Kevin. Good to talk to you. I'm going to have to put these on. Great to talk to you, Kevin.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, good morning. How are you, Sue?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Nice to talk to you. Now, Kevin, you live in one of the best parts of Western Australia, I think. Probably growing banksia collections. For those people that don't know what banksias are like, can you explain your love for banksias?
Yes, so we've got a lot of echo on that call for some reason. You're coming up as an echo, like a double sound twice. Makes it a little bit disconcerting, but never mind. We've managed to grow all of the banksia species in our collection at Mount Barker. The reason we've probably been moderately successful is we're very fortunate that the tropical banksias from Queensland adapt to the cool temperate climates, and we only get very mild frosts. If you live in Sydney and north, unfortunately, most of our western banksias can't tolerate humidity, so they have a lot of trouble growing our classy, showy banksias, Sydney and north. On our property, we've got a great diversity of soils. We are very fortunate that we've got wet peaty swamp, we've got deep acid sand, we've got sandy laterite, and we've got loamy gravel over clay. So we had a whole range of soil types, and it was trial and error, mix and match, and that's how we succeeded in getting them all to successfully grow. I've brought some of the garden in to show everyone today because I can't take you out in the garden, it's a bit wet. I brought the garden in. So I'll just show you a few of our very special banksias that are in flower at the moment. There's a little bunch showing some different colours. So
wow,
you get an idea. It's not just the inflorescences or flower heads that are very showy on banksias. It can also be the fruiting cones. I've got an example here. This is one of the immature fruiting cones from Banksia serrata from the eastern states, and you can see the lovely coloured follicles. So many banksias, it's not just the flowers, but it's the diversity of foliage, the diversity of flower heads, and sometimes the lovely fruiting cones that can be very special features. And as with most Proteaceae, the new foliage can be lovely colours. Banksia plagiocarpa from Hinchinbrook Island, its new foliage is burgundy red, which eventually turns green. So it's a sort of phosphorus saving mechanism that they don't develop their new leaves straight away into their mature colours because it all happens so quickly. So they tend to be a paler colour, a pink or a light cream colour or red, and then pick up the pigment as the plant can provide sufficient nutrients from that to turn the leaves the right colour. So that's another nice feature, is the new foliage. Just here we'll show you our smallest banksia, the tiny little Banksia meisneri, and then you compare it to Bowerii, the big woolly or teddy bear, and you can see the diversity
Wow.
of flower sizes. Fruiting cones, this is an interesting one, Lavigata, the tennis ball Banksia, but it could equally be a cricket ball. And then Grandis, of course, which are very popular Banksia with the Aboriginals, had many uses. And then over the many years, we've sought out colour variations, and this you can find unusual coloured forms of some of the Banksias, and we try and acquire them. Here's an example of the scarlet red Banksia coccinea, and there's a rare orange or gold one. You can get a pale yellow, and you can get different shades. Our local Banksia menziesii from Perth comes in pale yellow, pale pink, dark pink, burgundy red, and bronze. So you can get a whole range of colours as well.
So, Kevin, can you tell us how you started the collection of Banksias?
Well, we simply bought a property that was a bare grass paddock, and we wished to revegetate to bring in the birds and little animals. And so we grew mostly the local species, and ironically, Mount Barker, if you draw a 50-kilometre circle around the town, we have 24 endemic species. That's actually higher than any other town in the world, natural growing. So we aptly picked the right spot. Ravensthorpe is another hot spot with 18 species, and Badgingarra with 18 species. But yeah, we have 24 in our area. We grew a few Banksia coccineas initially for floriculture, just as a hobby, to sell a few bunches of flowers. And then we got involved with what's called the Banksia Atlas. And we went out in the bush and plotted Banksias and sent in returns, about 200 returns we sent in mapping Banksias. And this was done Australia-wide to create the Banksia Atlas, to give an appreciation of where they grow, how many species, how many of each species, etc. And from that project, we thought to ourselves, oh, we got 30, there's only 80, let's keep going. And then it became an obsession, and off we trekked, doing holidaying trips to the snow mountains, and then flying to Cairns and climbing a mountain on Hinchinbrook Island to get the Holy Grail, which was Plagiocarpa. We had every known Banksia, and Alex George, the botanist from Perth, came down and confirmed the collection. So it was a world first, and I think it may still be pretty much the world's only complete collection, although Kings Park have now got a very comprehensive collection as well, as they've started growing the eastern ones, which they didn't initially. So we would collect the cones, and we grew all of the plants from seeds ourselves. So some release the seeds with the sun, so you need to pick them at the appropriate time, just prior to opening with the sun. Many others release with the fire, so we would take the cone, burn it with a flame-throwing torch to simulate the fire, and then they have a little hygroscopic valve that holds the seeds in the follicles, and that requires rain to release them. So we would simply immerse the cones in a bucket of water for half an hour and then dry in the hot sun. And you simply repeat that process until the seeds release.
And
So
then
they're
we end
clever
up with
little.
all these amazing varieties. Oh, Kevin, I could speak to you all day. It's absolutely so exciting to have a passion with banksias, and we unfortunately are running out of time. We would be delighted if you would join us another day, and when we don't have some technical issues, and we can just talk banksias for much longer, because the birds love them, the environment loves them. It's something that is unique to Australia, and congratulations for having probably every known species of banksia in, have that collection. That national collection is something to be very proud of, something we're proud of in WA also.
Yeah. So if I can just wind up, I'm happy to come on and talk about growing them. They're great as pot plants, and I can give a lot more information in another session. Just a little brag is to show the Banksia book, which
Yes.
we're now selling as the second edition, and it's very popular, very comprehensive. So if anyone's still chasing a copy, many of the bookstores have them, or we have them personally if people want to sign copies. So there you go.
Well done. Thank you. Kevin Collins from the Banksia Farm in Mount Barker. If you'd like one, we can put a note in the comments and we can put you in contact with Kevin. Thank you so much for your time today. Enjoy Mount Barker. Yeah, look forward to it very much. There you have it, a passion of plants. That's how it starts, with one or two different varieties. Imagine having 24 endemic species of a certain plant around your area. Inspirational. Now let's head to a few of your comments and questions from Fiona, who's joining us from Perth. I have 3 gardenias that I have to replace every few years. They keep dying. Can I move them from the ground to a pot in hope that I can keep them alive? Absolutely. Gardenias do brilliantly in pots. Large pots about 40-45 centimetres. Azalea and camellia potting mix, so acid potting mix, lifting them up off the ground so that they drain freely, either plastic pots or also terracotta or clay pots. And you'll find morning sun is the best spot for gardenias, and regular fertilising. And just a little tip, you'll find even rose fertilizer does brilliantly with gardenias. So enjoy those. Enjoy the perfume. Talked to perfume plants this morning. Boronia megastigma. Gardenias are up there with one of the best perfumes. From DV in Meadowbank, I should say, in New South Wales, do I water the bulbs when planted in pots? Actually depends what bulbs you're planting in pots, but yes, definitely. If it's on the drier side, you need to water them. If you're having lots of rain, you don't need to water. So it's like you're growing any other plant, except when they go dormant. You'll find sometimes, depending on the variety or your climate, they do need to have a little bit of moisture, like a cyclamen bulb. If you don't water that in summer in Western Australia, it's way too hot and it dries out. But just a little bit of moisture every now and again, and that keeps them from drying out totally. So yes, you class them as any other plant when they're actively growing. When they're dormant, you just make sure that they're not going to dry out totally and don't cook. Now, from Nirmala in Perth, another West Australian question today. How do I care for my new Geraldton wax, please? Well, I can say, Nirmala, Geraldton waxes are tough. They're hardy. You don't need much care at all. They go brilliantly well in sandy soil, a little bit of soil improver, a little bit of organic-based fertiliser, and also controlled release fertiliser such as Osmocote. In a full sun position, after they've finished flowering, you trim them back by about a third or even to half, and they shoot away beautifully again. You don't need too much care at all. Oh, don't forget to mulch them over summer, and that will keep that moisture in the soil and make a big difference for Geraldton wax. But the best thing I can say about Geraldton wax, enjoy them. They flower beautifully, and they're an absolute fantastic cut flower. Now we are heading from Geraldton wax to Gladioli, another one of my favourite plants, and we welcome David Van Berkel to our Garden Gurus Facebook Live today. Hi, David.
Morning, Sue. How are you going?
Absolutely brilliant. Great to talk to you today. Gladdies, I mean, you can guarantee you can plant them today or this week. You can guarantee 13 weeks and you'll have flowers?
Yeah, exactly. 90 days, I think it works out to, and guaranteed they're spot on.
Yeah, they're not hard to grow, are they?
No, gladioli are really easy to grow. Occasionally, you can get a little bit of rust on the leaves. So once they're probably about 6 weeks in the ground, you get out there with a little bit of spray to keep the rust away.
Yeah, and that's it?
Sorry?
That's it, nothing else?
That's it. Oh, that's simple. Regular watering, of course. There's summer flowering, so keep the water up, because once those blooms start, I mean, you've got these big long bracts of flowers coming out. So in order to maintain that all of those blooms will pop out, you just want to keep the water up to them.
Do you find people when they're growing gladdies, David, they're looking at using them for a cut flower, or are they happy to keep them in the garden?
It's often the question, they look so beautiful, I want to bring them inside, or do I have enough to put outside? So a salesman in me says, buy 2 packs so that you can grow
Me too.
both, yeah.
Yeah, and you can plant them underneath other plants. So if you've got a rose garden, you've got salvias growing in your garden, all they really need is somewhere where it's actually open. Even in a veggie garden is where I grow my gladdies.
Yeah, I've got hyacinths popping up in my veggie garden at the moment, so a beautiful bit of fragrance along with the tomatoes. But with the gladdies, if they're maybe not too much strong wind, otherwise use a plant support to hold them up. Because again, once that flower starts to open, they can have a bit of a tendency to fall over.
Yeah, they have. Now, I've actually planted some of the Glamour series. We did a story about them. So very impressed with the size of the bulbs. They look great. No guaranteed to flower.
Yeah, absolutely. All the bulbs are guaranteed to flower. And the Glamour Glads are pretty special for me. I think it's nearly been about a decade since they first came into the country. And it was something that I'd seen and asked a grower to look into for me. They're not quite as tall as the regular gladiolis, often with the bicolour colorations on the flowers, but also with a really slight fragrance, which you don't get from all of the other gladiolis. So they're not the dwarfs, but they're certainly a little bit shorter and really beautiful flowers.
Yeah, they certainly are. Now, we get 5 of each, 5 varieties, if I get that out right today. $30 for 25 bulbs, so that's great value. So that represents 30%. Tell us, are they all bicolours? They are, aren't they? Just confirming that.
I don't think they're all bicolours. No, we've
Okay.
got 3 of the group are bicolours, and but they do have a little bit of a different colour in the bottom of the throat of the flower. So, but 3 of them are really solid bicolours, which gives you that lovely contrast too.
Oh, so 5, yeah, I think I could do that. 25 bulbs, get a couple of packets, because that's the best thing. We do talk about that, and I wanted to go over that again. You plant your gladiolis, 90 days you've got flowering again. No matter when you plant them around the year, you're going to get that guaranteed flower. And 90 days and we're at Christmas.
Yeah, all too soon. But we get a lot of requests from people, actually, I've got an engagement party coming up, or this event or that event. And, I've got a good friend in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales who's got an open garden scheme coming up. And so he's looking for particular things to flower at a particular week. And it can be a little bit difficult, but it's good with the gladiola. You can measure that 90 days. And lilies are pretty much the same. That you can pick the 90 days from when you plant them to when you're enjoying the beautiful flowers.
Now, this is a question without notice, and I'm sorry, we should have pre-planned this, but thinking about lilies, Christmas lilies, get them at the same time you get your order for your gladiolis. Do you have any of those as well?
There's a bit of a shortage on the Christmas lilies, the beautiful white ones. Yeah, we're releasing a few regale lilies in the next week or 2. We harvested our crop of those, so I got some beautiful bulbs out of that lot. But the Christmas lilies have been a bit hard to find, and they're often freshly sourced from Europe. And I think the difficulties with transport and a few other things with crops have really dried up the market for the Christmas lilies. So I don't have any at present.
But we have lots of gladdies, and it's also really highlighting how some varieties of plants are in short supply, how some, depending on, we take it for granted we can transport plants all around the world just as easy as that. But enjoy your gladdies. Don't enjoy the Christmas lilies this year. Well, do enjoy them, but look at them for photos. If you've got them, absolutely look after them. How do we get hold of the Glamour gladiolis this week, David?
Go to gardenexpress.com.au.
That's it. Easy as that.
In the specials bucket, I think there's a Guru's page, big banner on the front. Click on the banner; it will take you all the way through to the offer. Click on the offer to go straight to the store to make your purchase.
Look forward to it. Thank you very much. We'll talk lilies and other plants that you've got coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, wonderful, Sue. I can't wait.
I look forward to it. Thanks, David. That's David Van Berkel from Garden Express. Absolute passionate grower about gladies and actually all things transporting plants all across the country. Does a fantastic job. If you haven't decided you'd like to add some colour, I think you do. I actually guarantee you do. 5 different varieties for $25. Absolutely fantastic value and inspiration. You heard it first that Christmas lilies might be a little bit short this year, so maybe plant some Gladioli instead. Now, did you catch the Garden Gurus over the weekend? It's so good to be back on air. Here's a quick promo for episode 3. Technology put aside, let's see if we can do it today. We've talked lawns. I'm hoping you're still with us chatting lawns, and I know Andrew has. He's been working overtime trying to get it right. We've had so many options in the background. Join us this morning, Andrew O'Carrigan. Hi, Andrew. Definitely. Look, see, persistence pays off, doesn't it? It's a bit like a gardener. We have to be persistent.
About lawns, I believe. This is spring, and spring it's all about lawns and gardens. So, are we ready to go?
Yeah, certainly am. And I actually highlighted it earlier on that some people, depending where they live, so in Western Australia, we've had lots of rain, a little bit of cold weather. The lawns are looking slightly yellow, particularly those warm season varieties of lawns. And then in the other areas where we've got cool season lawns, they really, no matter what type of lawn you've got, they really start to really come into their own at this time of the year. But it's when the footy's finished, we open the door and go, oh no, now what am I going to do with the lawn?
Yeah, look, you'll have to excuse me, as life always happens. There's some sort of thing going on in the background. I've got a guy on a chainsaw that's coming through. I apologise. I did hear that briefly, and that was something around the cool season still being experienced in WA. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. What do we do with our lawn at this time of the year, really, is the key?
Yep. Look, I'd suggest in the range that you see on the table here, we've got primarily granular products. We do have a liquid product sitting up the front here, and I'll give you a bit of a run through about what the company has in Bunnings and across different independents. So you're really thinking at this time of year about getting a head start to what is effectively the big growth period of your lawn. So spring is when your soils are starting to warm and your microbial action will start to kick off. And that means your roots are starting to get stimulated and they're starting to grow. So once you get root growth, you're going to get top growth, which is all your leaf and the colouring up process. So going forward with spring into summer, you want to give something that's going to feed sustainably. So that's where our company works best. We have slow release fertilisers in a granular range. And across the front here, this is not the full extensive list, but we've got something where if your soil's a bit waterlogged and you're looking for good nutrition, we've got a wetting agent in combination with the slow release. If you're doing a brand new lawn, for instance, you need to give plants the best start to establish. So something like a lawn builder starter is really good. And then we've got a variety of very specific forms such as buffalo, all-purpose. And then if you want to get into herbicide actions, we've got things such as weed kill, insecticide layered formulation. So we've got a really comprehensive range here. But if you're still in those cooler southern latitudes and you want to get a head start, you might consider liquids. liquids are going to be more efficacious at this cooler time of year because there'll be more foliar uptake. Perhaps the days are starting to warm above 15 degrees, but that root activity is still a bit slow. So for a lot of people, they really need to think about considering early control of your broadleaf weeds, particularly bindi. That's a nasty one in lawns. So our liquid combination herbicide with fertilizer products are a great way to get into the market and get a feel for caring for your lawn. I think that's a great sort of early opportunity for a lot of people across Australia right now.
Yeah, certainly for getting rid of those weed seeds as well, which brings me to, I'm going to get you to answer a question for us. Ken from Perth, I have some weeds on my lawn. When should I apply weed and feed? I say there's no better time than now, before the weeds get too big.
It's pretty much an all year round proposition, except when you start to exceed those really high temperatures above 30 degrees. Because of the urea and some of the phyta that might come from herbicides, but we really want customers to understand to get in early. So in Sydney, where I'm, it's basically from mid-August, we really want to start using our herbicide products to get that early control on things like bindi.
Yeah, and slow release fertilizers, in all seriousness, it's the future of fertilizing plants and gardens because there's no leaching, no waste. They are easy to cut around. You're not cutting a huge amount of bags. So on all different levels, they are actually the future of gardening, really, aren't they?
It is. So look, so think about a comprehensive package for your lawn in one product. So we recommend that customers think about their lawn in multi-layers. So think about, has your lawn ever been aerated? Think about putting some pores into the soil right now, or even having a look at the quality of that turf. Is it really spongy and dense? We need to lessen some of that growth on top. And then these fertilizers are really easy to apply. We've got a variety of spreaders. So our best spreader in the range is a drop spreader. And the drop spreader, like you can see on your screen, will help that fertilizer get down into that soil profile accurately. And then the hand spreaders are probably the most economical in price, and they'll help to distribute it like a rotary spreader does broadly across the lawn. But if you get improved air, improved water, and good sustainable nutrition into your soil, it doesn't matter if you've got a pile of weeds, you're going to have a fantastic green patch. If you've got a great buffalo lawn, for instance, and you underfeed it, you'll have a thin and tired-looking lawn over a number of years. But if you feed it at least even once a year and look at your mowing schedules regularly, you'll have a fantastic lawn. So our company knows the technology. They know how to apply the products really well. We try and educate the consumer on how to use that with particular lawn type that you have at home and get the best effects you can. So I was just going to showcase these spreaders. We've got that rotary spreader, which you might have seen in the imagery, or another one which is a drop spreader. I'll pick this one up. These are the two sort of elite end spreaders that we sell, and they're calibrated to deliver these products accurately. All the information is on these products here. They're very well laid out, very well written, so that you can easily understand the correct way to apply and have the best results.
Yeah, it certainly is. Technology has come a long way when it comes to fertilising. I think fertilise wise, do it a little bit, and can particularly controlled release fertiliser just makes a huge difference. I think there'll be a few of us out there this week heading out and feeding the lawn, making it look gorgeous. It is spring officially on Wednesday, I think it is. Wednesday, it's come so fast around the place, and definitely the lawns are growing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew.
My pleasure, Sue. Keep well, all the best. See you later.
Yeah, you've got those tips. You've heard it first, what you can do with your lawn with slow release or controlled release technology. It's the future, definitely, of feeding your lawn, because gone are the days of having to do it regularly. And what we want to do is have sustained growth, really strong growth, and a lawn that is strong and resistant to pests and diseases. So you've heard it first there with Andrew, and those top of the range spreaders definitely make life easy. Thanks, Andrew. Good to chat to you, and enjoy Sydney. Enjoy. I hope many of you in Sydney, we are thinking of you. Hopefully you can enjoy some time in your garden, that's for sure, and your garden's looking gorgeous. Now let's head back to some of our questions, just a few before we wrap up today. I'm sorry we've had a few technical issues, but that's what happens with Garden Gurus at Facebook Live. That's what happens. The whole team's been working very hard behind the scenes, and for that we appreciate it very much. From Victoria, Caroline, do I trim my clematis or let them die? We don't let them die. And I'm going to say it will feel like they're dying when they're dormant. They'll shoot away again. Clematis are one of those climbers that are very fine. So if you can plant them with another climber that's a bit stronger, it protects them. And having that protection makes a huge difference. So only trim them to shape if they're growing beautifully. When I say let them die, they go dormant, they look sticky is for want of a better word, horticultural term. They look sticky and bare, but they'll shoot away beautifully again. So the clematis will be starting to come out of dormancy and looking stunning very soon. So don't let them die, just let them go dormant, have a rest, and then they'll shoot away beautifully again. From DV, does the Boronia need to be planted in soil mix for natives or regular premium potting mix? I have never used native potting mix for Boronias. They're actually one plant that will cope with regular premium potting mix. They're Rutaceae family, I think. So they're not a Proteaceae family, like you heard Kevin talking about banksias, and they are sensitive to phosphorus. Boronias will cope with those nutrients and the fertilizer. So if you've got regular premium potting mix, DV, you can plant them in that. And even a small plant of a Boronia will have the most incredibly strong root system, and that's why many people have problems with growing Boronia, because they die back because they forget how strong that root system is. It does very well over summer. Now from Bayswater, Yvonne, I have shield beetles eating my rose petals. They only affect my Pope John Paul rose. I've never had them before. What can I do? Oh, they're annoying. They get onto the tomatoes. They get onto the capsicums as well, and I know they get onto beans. You get rid of them and then they come back again. What you can do about it, you can spray if you want to, but I would say hose them off. Either protect your rose, hopefully they will come back and they'll shoot away again. They'll be really bad for 3 or 4 weeks, and then they'll come back, they'll disappear, and then your rose, then they'll disappear basically. So if you can hang out, try and get rid of them through means of just trying to ward them off, that'll be actually much happier. They'll be much happier if you don't have to spray. So unfortunately they are frustrating, and yes, you can try with something that's really safe. So beat a bug, garlic and chili spray, hopefully get rid of them that way will be better than trying to spray them with something more toxic. We don't want to do that for your garden. Zephyr, I planted my root vegetables in a garden bed, but not much root growth, but lots of green. What should I do next time when planting? What you'll find with root vegetables, they do need high potassium, and also they need phosphorus. So lots of leafy greens will be an indicator that there's a little bit too much nitrogen in the soil, and we need to deliver fertilizer that's suitable for roots and for root vegetable development. So over the winter, they'll do really well. If you're harvesting them too early, you can leave them in the soil for a little bit longer. But a complete fertilizer that also has phosphorus, but also has potassium, what we want to do is strengthen those roots, and you'll find they'll do better. If you end up with branched carrots as well, that's an indicator that the plant, when it's growing, gets all confused and it sends out these roots everywhere, and you'll end up with too much nitrogen. So next time, complete fertilizer rather than high nitrogen fertilizer. To Campbelltown in Sydney, welcome Heather. Thanks for your comment. I have a Sir Walter lawn being laid a little bit over a year ago, but there are now 11 or so dead patches in them, about the size of a small plate. I have tried spraying for curl grub and have also used sea soil. What to do? Actually interesting, they also get a problem called dollar spot, which is a fungal issue that gets into the lawn, particularly when there's high humidity weather, a little bit of warmth around, a little bit of moisture around. So yes, you can spray with a fungicide, but in those areas, I would be, now that the weather's warming up in your area, I'd be digging that area out, putting some good soil into that area, lots of organic matter into that area, and then feeding them and encouraging those runners to grow across. Now, if that's not going to happen in a hurry, what we can do is just dig our little patch and relay just 1 or 2 rolls back in that area just to patch them up. But often it's a fungal problem, and as the weather comes up, and it warms up, they don't, you'll start to see those dead patches disappear. But if they got to the point of they're bare completely, they will take a long time or a little bit of time to cover over. The key is improving the soil. From Campbelltown in Sydney, Heather Kay, how do you get rid of sooty mould on native trees? Actually, the problem with sooty mould on native trees, grevilleas are susceptible, some leptospermums are very susceptible, and you'll get them on melaleucas as well. You'll find, and callistemons, you'll find that the problem comes about because of scale insects. So at some time, your native plants had scale insects. So what we can do, if you can't see any scale, can't see any ants, they've disappeared. So what we can do at the moment is give them a trim back after they've finished flowering. So always native plants, after they've had their main flowering, if you can trim them back then, cut them back, let them shoot away, feed them with a controlled release fertilizer for natives or blood and bone with potassium. Feed them, get them growing actively, and you'll find they'll grow out of it. Won't be a problem. But if you happen to see ants, you happen to see scale insects, now's the time to put some white oil on them before it gets too hot and dry and cause burning. Our last question for the morning, how do you get rid of onion grass? Oh, onion grass is the bane of many gardeners' lives. Even if you mulch over it, will still shoot away again. Now, there are selective herbicides that you can use for onion grass that are available from your local garden centre. You can spray those, or you can get a contractor in and spray them. Metasulfuron is the active ingredient for onion grass, if you can get that. But if you've only got a little bit, digging it out, lifting it up, getting the bulb at the same time will make a huge difference to getting rid of it. And then you put mulch over the soil. But you do need to dig out chunks of it, dig out the bulbs at the same time. Otherwise, if you just pull it up, they disappear. If you're trying to get it on lawn, the mower just lays them flat and then they shoot away again. So no matter which way you look at it, unfortunately, Lisa, there's quite a bit of labour involved, but I recommend getting a local contractor in and they can spray it for you. They've got all the gear, they're registered for it, and they can clear up their onion grass for you with something that's not going to affect your garden plants also, and it saves you having to do it. Enjoy your garden. Now, that's it for today's episode of the Garden Gurus Live. So sorry about the technical issues once again. I hope you've been managed to be inspired, look at some incredible information. How was Kevin with those banksias? Was absolutely fantastic. Maybe go and buy a few Gladiolis to add some colour to your garden. Now, Lachlan's going to send a message to our seed and book winners after today's show. The Garden Gurus is back on air. We're playing at 2:30 p.m. in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, and at 4:30 p.m. in WA and South Australia on Saturday. Is that right? I'm just getting the nod and the thumbs up for Saturday. Check your local TV guide to make sure you won't miss us. There's so much information happening. I've been very much part of the spring series, and there's just lots of tips and inspiration when it comes to the garden, particularly at this time of the year. Isn't it just lovely? People are thinking about gardening. Remember, we have a $20,000 garden makeover competition running in this season of the Garden Guru, so don't forget to enter. We'd be delighted if we could come to your garden. We'll have the comp details right here on our Facebook page. And remember, you can always jump onto our website and catch up on our previous episodes and previous stories from the Garden Gurus at thegardengurus.tv or our YouTube channel, thegardengurus.tv. You can listen back to today's live stream and catch up on previous episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast and Audible. So many choices. Join us next Monday for another session of the Garden Gurus Live. Make sure you tune in at 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Until then, happy gardening.
Visit the Garden Guru's online store and browse through a collection of high-quality, German-made Wolf garden tools. You'll also find a range of books with information to help create and maintain a beautiful garden. You can also access the online store on the Garden Gurus Facebook page.